Question 5, what are society's attitudes about the following issues? How do you think they have changed in the last 10 to 20 years? We'll start with A, teen pregnancy. I said, in riding in cars with boys, her parents almost disowned her and embarrassed her at that one party, while in Juneau, her parents weren't happy, but at least they helped and supported her a little bit more than times back in the day.
Well, in riding cars with boys, when she was when she got pregnant, her parents made her basically get married, and I feel like now they don't make her get married, but still at her wedding, they were like judging her. They didn't really come for her; they came for her parents. Now, like they still judge you, but I don't feel like they make you get married to the person.
Yeah, it kind of seems like people don't really get married anymore. Like, in the book especially, like, it shows people separate, like, right after the baby because the relationship changes. Like, Sam mentions to Claire in the book, like, how things weren't the same between him and Brittany after they had the baby, so that's probably stereotypical of, like, what normally happens.
It's just very irresponsible, too, just to get married to someone that you got pregnant.
Especially like when it's like a teen pregnancy, like your relationship really isn't like love, it's more infatuation. So I feel like you're not getting into that love stage before you've had sex, and then once you do have a baby, then you kind of like are still kind of in a relationship, but then you find out you're not like compatible with that person. So that's why I think a lot of like nowadays they don't get married.
Yeah. Also, I think because of there's so many more resources today, from like helping with adoption to like during school, like daycare, and the families being more accepting, kind of like what the situation is. Because I feel like 20 years ago they were just like, okay, you're gonna get married, because that's just the best way to go. But now there's just so many more options.
Kind of saw that. I think it was in Juneau, where like if you got pregnant, you get married. Like it's just kind of an automatic thing. 20 years ago, that was in Juneau.
That was the other one.
Okay, so that anyways, it was kind of like whatever. If you're pregnant, you're getting married. When she told her dad that she wasn't going to get married, he just lost all the respect in her and stuff. So, anyways, it just kind of seemed like the inferior thing to do. But nowadays, it's kind of more common not to get married. That's not even like a question.
I think our generation is just a lot more accepting of like all these issues other than our parents. So when we watch the media, that's kind of run by our parents' generation. So it'll be interesting to see once our generation is adults and in the working industry how things will change, like in the media and things like that.
Yeah, on page 118, when they go to the mall, some lady says you have a beautiful family, so that shows that people are more accepting to teen parents and teen families, I guess. Because probably 20 plus years ago, no one would ever come out and say that in public. They would just
Yeah, kind of going off like the society's attitude thing. I think like the older generation kind of like frowns upon teen pregnancy, because on page 95, they're at the park and the lady asked if they were babysitting and they said they're ours, and then she like said she looked at Sam and frowned, which kind of shows that like she disapproved of what they were doing, being parents like their teenagers and stuff like that.
As for Juneau, I think that was a really like realistic take on modern day teen pregnancy, whereas you tell the parents and of course they're going to show disappointment and aren't going to be thrilled about it, but like in Juneau, the parents weren't so much like, okay, we're disowning you, or like she needed to get married. They were more accepting yet disappointed at the same time, which I think is a really realistic reaction to teen pregnancy as parents of the child that is pregnant.
Don't want to be
Sure.
these teen parenting.
All right, I said for B, hanging on a max, people judge Sam. hanging on to Max. People judged Sam for having a kid. I guess we kind of went through teen parenting.
I don't think Super's gonna think we're laughing at what he says. We're laughing at the camera, how we're like.
Yeah, I know.
So close to your face. It's funny.
Yeah, so teen parenting. Who wants to go?
I think teen parenting nowadays kind of, it creates responsibility. For example, like we talked like Danny Long, I follow her on some social media stuff. I've known her for a while, and that I can see that she really takes responsibility of being a mom and takes on that role and doesn't try and hide that. She accepts the fact, and she seems like a really responsible parent, and I think it changes you. And yeah.
Yeah, I think just like, once again, like 20 years ago, you were just like frowned upon for being a teen parent, but now it's just different because, you know, there's like a TV show on it now. And it's just like, it's more like, it's not normal, but it's kind of like it's there and, you know, people accept it now.
In a way, it's almost, I feel like it's become like an attraction too. People are so drawn and so interested,
Yeah.
drawn and interested to it. And like, yeah, like you said, like the TV show is like 16 and pregnant. Like, why is that a TV show? Like, obviously people are interested in watching and like knowing about these people.
Like when a girl in another community got pregnant, we found out last year, like everyone, all they talked about for weeks, like such a big deal. We didn't even know this girl, and we had so many people follow her and all this stuff. She got like famous just because she was pregnant and stuff like that. It doesn't really make sense, but
And it like goes away after a while. You talk about it, it's like the talk of the halls, and then it dies down. So it's like people definitely pay attention to it, but then it kind of goes away a little bit, obviously. Should we go on to the next one?
Sure.
Okay, for single parent families, on page 195, when like Claire and Sam are like debating about the adoption thing, Sam says, "Don't you think everybody ought to have a mother?" And that was kind of like his personal view because he didn't really have a mother growing up, so he kind of thought that all kids should have both figures in their life because it would have been important to him because he didn't have one of them.
I feel like people nowadays give single parents a lot of sympathy and are like, all those poor parents have to deal with their kids all alone. When I think some of those parents who get that sympathy don't think that's very respectful because maybe they do really well as a single parent, and they're kind of like, people are giving them that sympathy. It's kind of rude in a way when if they are really good at it. And does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
I feel like 10, like more like 20 years ago, it was probably like people walked around and thought, oh, it's a single parent. That's really weird because it was kind of still, I feel like maybe still more of like that stereotypical, like perfect American family, whereas like the mom, dad, like 2 kids and whatever. So I feel like people still thought of it like family's supposed to be in that way, and then when they saw like that one single parent, they thought that was weird or wrong or whatever. So
It's interesting to also think about how the kids grow up differently because they don't grow up with 2 parents in a home. They grow up with 1 parent in their home, depending on if their parents get remarried or not. So I think it's interesting to think of the differences between a kid that has both parents in their house still married and ones that are living with a single parent.
I think that people are a lot more accepting of single parents now because, especially because like it's a lot more common for parents to be single, whereas like maybe like 50 years ago there were a lot more families that were together, and now like there's a lot more single parents, especially because like there's more divorces and stuff. So
And in like cultures too, because like I know like some cultures used to be like for wives like they have to like adore their husbands and everything, but now it's more just
Go under
I'd
D.
like to start D, if I could.
No.
Okay, well, this one's on men raising children, and in Big Daddy, they kind of portray that he struggles in hanging on to Max. They portray that he struggles, but with the book, it starts with that Brittany can't do it. So she's kind of using both standards and not just one. Yeah, she shows more of Max or Sam struggling with Max, but that's because he, in the first, initially took the responsibility to take Max when Brittany, the girl, didn't. So I guess she kind of shows both of this, not just so stereotypically that the guy can't do it because the girl was the one who at first gave up.
Yeah, they kind of just like don't trust Sam and look to like raise Max at the start. Like on page 38 with Miss Harriman, she kind of like just like is trying to help him a lot because they don't think that he's capable at the moment to like know what he's doing. But although he kind of knows him, and he's kind of getting annoyed with it. But although it's kind of like she's trying to help him, he's just kind of like, I wish like this wasn't like so different between a mom and a guy raising a child.
10:30, just so we know. So we wanted to come to 5 minutes.
Issue or like people are starting to recognize it, like the dog commercial that they had, where that big role that you play in children's life. So I think it's kind of cool to see that it's not just the guy who hurts the kid, especially.
Because like Big Daddy, that was filmed years ago, so they kind of like portrayed him as like a really immature adult who doesn't really do much with his life, and then when he gets a kid, they show how he like kind of like grows him up, how like he is like already, like he kind of like raises his sonny like immature and kind of like to do what he wants. And so that kind of shows how like back then they didn't really like think men like raising children was like a very good way to go.
Yeah, like going off that, on page 41, when Sam's at his counselor, the counselor's like, "How's it going, Sam?" Going, "Okay, Sam." And then Sam thinks to himself, like, she's like only asking me this because I'm the only guy in the program, and she wouldn't be asking all the other mothers this, which kind of shows that like the counselor was just assuming that like Sam had more problems because he was a guy raising a kid.
Should we head back now?
Sure.